Hello, BookTube. I'm Jonathan, and today we are bringing good vibes only. And in order to help me do that, I have recruited Bookborn. Bookborn, have your recent reads been cheering you up, or have they been bringing you down?
That's a good question. I read a nonfiction most recently, or finished one, and the vibes were medium. I wouldn't say it uplifted me. I wouldn't say it necessarily brought me down either.
Kind of
Uh,
mid. Well, I
it,
think we can do better. I think we can lift your spirits up because, ooh, that's a cool book cover. What we have planned for you guys today is some science fiction and fantasy that's it's going to make you feel good. It's going to brighten your day. Bookborn, as the guests, can you provide our first feel good fantasy recommendation?
yes, my first one is not going to be a small author. I decided to, I got one that everyone's going to have heard of before, but that is Tress of the Emerald Sea by
Nice.
Brandon Sanderson. Uh, Look, this is a feel good book. I'm just gonna say it. Like, this was the book I read January 1st of 2022, I think, and or 2023. I don't know, whenever it came out. And it was just such a cheerful story. It takes its inspiration from The Princess Bride, and it's very humorous. It's about a girl who is going on an adventure and kind of making her own way, and it ends happy. It's going to end happy. It's very fairy tale like, and it's good vibes from beginning to end.
I like that you say that it ends happy, and you always know there's not even a risk. There's not even a little bit of worry or doubt that it could have an upsetting ending. I like that.
No, have
I
you read this one?
I haven't. So I haven't actually read any Brandon Sanderson. I am focusing on sci-fi at the moment, but when I do dabble in the future in a little fantasy, I believe Mistborn, I've been told, is a good place to start. Although maybe depending on my mood, I might need to pick up Tress of the Emerald Sea if I
You
need a
could
pick me
start
up.
here. You could. It's a standalone. That's my other pitch for this one, is that it's a Sanderson standalone. So you read it and that's it. You're done.
Ooh, that's rare when it comes to fantasy. That's one of the I'll say the advantages. If for Team Sci-Fi, we got a lot of good entry points with our 200-page classic sci-fi standalones.
That is true.
All right, nice. I like it. Well, for my first sci-fi recommendation, I'm going to go with Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. So, the premise for this one is we have a character who's on a space mission and they wake up and they kind of have amnesia. So, there's a little bit of stress, a little bit of conflict, a little bit of drama to start things out. But this character deals with this kind of stressful situation with humor. He's kind of a nerdy science guy. We use some science in a MacGyver-like fashion to solve these problems on the space mission, and we developed some relationships on the way. I don't want to spoil the particular characters, but I became very endeared to the characters. I was rooting for the characters, and even though there's some twists and turns, I think this book has a positive outlook. It's something that I can share with my dad, who's maybe not a big sci-fi reader, and not be too worried that my dad's going to be offended or freaking out of the kind of stuff his son's reading. And I think it's good for a younger audience too. I wouldn't say it's YA, but if you like sci-fi and you're a teenager, then this is Project Hail Mary is probably another good one for you to pick up. And it's a good time to read it because they're making it into a film. If you are forgetting the name of the person, but anyway, I believe it's someone that was connected with the Lego movie. Ryan Gosling is going to be in it. He's great. So read the book and then get ready for the movie, which I think is coming out 2025.
Yeah, I love Project Hail Mary.
Nice. Let's
Yeah.
go.
Actually, when I was making like I looked at my bookshelf for these feel good lists. Turns out I don't read a lot of feel good stuff, but I was gonna put The Martian, and I was like, oh, but that's a sci-fi. So The Martian's my feel good, but I do love both of them.
Yes, I'm a big fan of both of them, and even though it's not necessarily as thematically weighty as a Dune or a Hyperion, I still put it in that top tier. I think Hail Mary, if I've only got 10 books to take to a desert island and I need one of them to be a bit of a pick me up, Project Hail Mary might get that spot.
Oh, wow, I like that. Yeah, it has some good characters.
Very true. All right, book one. What is your next fantasy recommendation?
my next one, I wanted to pick one that I felt some people hadn't read, and it's a short one. It's just a little novella, which is The Empress of Salt and Fortune by Nevo. I think a lot of people won't have heard of this. This is why I wanted it. It's an easy read. It follows a character who is collecting knowledge, is collecting research, historical evidence. Obviously, uh, is an Asian inspired fantasy setting. And this main character has kind of like a familiar, and it's just a very pleasant story. I wouldn't say it's necessarily like, it's not funny or anything like that, but it's a very kind of uh, cozier kind of exploration, and it's theme heavy. And I just felt good when I read it. You know, you're going to feel good at the end of it. We're not talking about, I mean, it has some heavy things in it, but overall, it is a hopeful story. And I just really, really enjoyed it. And there's several of these little novellas. So if you like it, there's more for you.
Oh, okay, so is it a series? How many novellas are there?
Um, I've read two. I think there's only three out. A fourth one might have come out since then. I just haven't picked up the third one yet. But they're all like this 100 pages, and they aren't. It's the same main character, but they aren't necessarily related. So you could read them out of order, and it would be fine. In my opinion, they're not really related. It's just kind of this one character going on different adventures. Uh, and yeah, I enjoy it a lot.
Very cool. This sounds very stress-free. You're not going to get stressed out by the content. The books are
No.
short, so you're not going to get stressed out about, oh, I've got to get through this 1,000 pages. Apparently, you don't even need to read them in order. You could accidentally buy book two. No stress.
You'd be fine. That's what I'm saying. It's a low pressure situation. Yeah, I really like that author, so I'm always gonna forward her up.
Very cool. I haven't heard of her before, so that might be a new recommendation for a lot of people, which is great. So I'll be honest, I pitched this idea for a video to you before having picked my books. And then when I went through my list of sci-fi books that I've read, which is 200 and something, I think, I found two books that I found to be particularly feel good. Sci-fi. I think we're a little bit worried about the future. AI is going to take over. We have dystopian, cyberpunk
Or
worries
maybe you
ahead
and
of
I are
us.
just similar in that we don't read feel good things. That's what I discovered. I guess I'm not a feel good reader.
That's a good point. Is it a reflection of the science fiction genre, or is it a reflection of me? So I thought, well, I need three books for the video, so I decided to pick up this one specifically to read in preparation for this, and that was The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by
Mm.
Becky Chambers. And basically, in this book, we follow a crew. We have a small spaceship. Each of the characters on the crew has a different role. Many of them are different backgrounds, different aliens, and it's about them kind of learning to come together to overcome some challenges on this mission that sort of starts to they get in over their heads. They haven't been in this kind of scenario before, but through the power of friendship, through the power of family, maybe everything will be okay. And this was quite a unique reading experience because they're kind of in a workplace, and a lot of the conversation between essentially co-workers went along the lines of, you know, that job you just did? You did a great job, and I appreciate it. And I love you, not just as a co-worker, but as a person. You are valued and welcome here. And I thought, what a nice and lovely thing to be told in a workplace environment. Don't know how entertaining it was to read. It was it was a little bit too chummy, chapter after chapter for me of this kind of a thing. But I thought, you know what, the world would be a better place if all workplaces were like this, and I think some readers might find some value in that, even though maybe could have done with a little bit more conflict, a little bit more drama, a little bit more tension. For me, I didn't end up loving this book, but if you want to read a book where people are supporting and nurturing each other, The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet, it's going to hit the spot.
This is gonna be a bad recommendation video because I've read that book and also did not super enjoy it. It was okay.
Yes.
It was okay. I think a lot of people really love it though. So I think if you're looking for that kind of cozy thing, people will love it. Wasn't my favorite either. I have read other Chambers though that I enjoyed more.
Interesting. This was the first I've read from her. Have you read, is it The Monk and Robot? series?
I have. I've read A Psalm for the Wild Bill, which is also very cozy. Was not a fan necessarily. I loved the world. I think it's the same thing with a small, whatever, long way to a small angry planet. Some of the plot things I weren't as interesting. I like to be taught if fortunate. That's a novella of hers that I really enjoyed. So
Nice. I might have to look that one up because, yeah, I think it does a lot of things well. I think I liked her writing, and I thought the world was really well thought out. Just plot wise, I wanted a little bit more at stake. I wanted a little bit more sort of clever solutions to things rather than things just kind of being wrapped up rather quickly and easily just through the
that's
power of being a
definitely a
good
function of
person.
the function of her novels that I think I struggle with as well, but some people love.
But it's the vibe we're going for today. So if that's the
Sure.
vibe you're looking for, try out The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. All right, but go on. What is your next fantasy recommendation?
I've got another mainstay author. I am recommending a Terry Pratchett book, which is Guards,
Nice.
Guards, one of the more famous Discworld novels. Um, Guards follows the city watch, like you think of in a video game or a movie or even books. You have these guards in a city, and it follows them in a very humorous and also insightful way, as Terry Pratchett always is. But the thing is, at the end of any Discworld novel, honestly, you're gonna feel good. We there's a ton of humor, there's a ton of great character relationships, and there's a lot of play on classic fantasy elements that are just so enjoyable. And Guards is usually one of the top rated Discworld for a reason, and you can totally start Discworld with this book. So, highly recommended if you want something that is funny, it's going to make you feel good, and at the same time be insightful.
Very cool. So I have not read any Terry Pratchett, although my favorite writer of all time is Kurt Vonnegut. And I have never really found another writer like Vonnegut. And the two names that come up a lot that are recommended for Vonnegut fans are Douglas Adams, The Hitchhiker's Guide. I've read the first couple of books, which I quite liked. See some similarities, but it wasn't quite the same thing. And then Terry Pratchett. Have you read any Kurt Vonnegut? Do you think that's a fair
I
comparison?
I have. I've only read one though. I read
Slaughterhouse
what's his
Five?
thank you.
Yeah.
Slaughterhouse 5. It wasn't coming. I read Slaughterhouse 5 and really, really liked it. And in fact,
Nice.
I do want to read more of Vonneguten's work because I like that novel so much. However, based on that novel alone, I don't really see the similarities with Pratchett.
Interesting.
Um, I mean, maybe high level in that I think from Slaughterhouse 5 and Pratchett both have the ability to see issues in society that are always going to be relevant. So
Hmm.
Slaughterhouse 5 is as relevant today as it was when it was written, and it will probably always be relevant. And I do feel the same way about Pratchett's works. So in that way, I think they had kind of a prescience, like a knowledge or understanding of the world. But in terms of writing style, I don't consider them very similar, at least based on that one book. I've read a lot of Pratchett, but only one Vonnegut book.
Gotcha. Yeah, I would say it's possibly due to them both being somewhat comedic writers, maybe some of the social themes. But I'm a big Vonnegut fan. I'm not necessarily putting him on this list. I mean, there's some things about Vonnegut that make me feel good in the sense that I feel understood and connected to the world, and I personally relate to him as a writer, and I think it helps me relate to things in my life, which I appreciate. But it's not always the most upbeat. Vonnegut tackles some heavy things, has some kind of unkind truths to share. So it's not
Mhm.
necessarily feel good, but when you're ready for that kind of thing, try out Vonnegut. You can't go wrong. I've read all of his novels, and the worst one was a 7 out of 10. So
Oh,
you're going to get
that's
pretty
a high
much nothing but
recommendation.
praise from me. Yes. The theme of today's episode is feel good, things that make you happy, and there's nothing that does that better than puppies. This is Charlie the mini poodle. She's rather tired. She might prefer if I just let her sleep, but there you go. You're making people feel good, Charlie. All right, I'll let you sleep. She's a good girl.
You
She's the best
you woke
girl.
her up for that. I
I'm.
don't know if it was she thinks it's worth it.
I'll give her treats afterwards. She deserves them. She's a good girl. Okay. For my third and final feel-good sci-fi book recommendation, one of the only ones that I could find on my list when trying to make this list, I'm going to go with We Are Legion, We Are Bob, the first book in the Bobiverse series by, why am I forgetting his name? Dennis E. Taylor. So this is a first-person POV story, a little bit like The Martian or Project Hail Mary, and we have a character that in the first chapter is crossing the road, and he wakes up and he's now a corpsicle. Not ideal. It would make me feel good, but things kind of get better from there. This main character is their consciousness is uploaded into a computer, and they're sent off on a space mission. And this character is very smart. They're very nerdy. There's a lot of references. If you love a good pop culture reference, if you love some nerdy jokes, Bob's going to be your guy. You're going to enjoy spending time with Bob, and Bob, his potential is kind of limitless because he is now software basically, and so he gets to go around the galaxy doing all fun kinds of things. And this book just has sort of like a tongue-in-cheek sensibility to it, and I think there's a certain level of optimism. There are still challenges and things that come up, and not all of technology is necessarily headed in the direction that humanity might want it to be. But I think Bob and the author Dennis E. Taylor generally has a positive outlook, and this is a fun, fast read that I think a lot of sci-fi fans will enjoy.
Haven't heard of this one,
You have
so that's exciting.
Nice. I've only read the first one in the series, but I know people are fans of the Bobiverse, and I think if you're a fan of Andy Weir, there's going to be a little bit of crossover with those two writing styles.
Nice.
Look at that! 6 books recommendations already. We there's not enough, I guess. That's what we're discovering. Let us know in the comments. Is this a reflection on on the two of us as readers, or are we not seeking out these optimistic books enough, or is you know are the authors in the science fiction and fantasy genres, are they a little bit they don't have the best
Pushing.
world outlook? I know Grimdark's very popular right now. Would you say that that is sort of like the most popular fantasy trend that you see?
I think grimdark as a fantasy trend is actually peaked a bit ago. I feel like it was probably mid 90s to like 2010s, and not that it's not there, but I feel like we're seeing a dip. I actually think cozy fantasy is kind of the term, romantasy. I feel like a lot of that is what we're seeing in the fantasy sphere right now. But I think, dark, more serious, high fantasy is just a mainstay of the genre and will always be here.
Gotcha. So this is what people want. This video is going to hit in the algorithm, is what Bookborn is saying.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Or else your money back.
We love it. Well, there you go. I enjoy some bleak sci-fi. I enjoy some dystopian sci-fi. But every now and again, you need to pick me up. So try out one of these books, whether it's in the sci-fi genre, fantasy genre. If you're looking for sci-fi recs, you're in the right place. And if you're looking for fantasy recs, you got to go check out Bookborn's channel. Tell her Jonathan sent you. All right. Thanks a lot, guys. Click all the buttons. You know what to do. And we'll see you in the next one.